Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Bakar Bey, Coach Bakar, here with Majida Bey, the industry disruptor, financial conductor, and this is the Seer Mastermind Show. Seer Mastermind Group. Oh, that's right. Seer Mastermind. This is our story, our journey, our way. A family of entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, working toward helping people to be supported, encouraged, more accountable, and to get better results and recognition in their lives and their journeys. And so, we came together, her, myself, and trustfully our brother Maurice will be able to join us as well tonight. But tonight we've got a great conversation as we're closing out the year, and many people are putting together plans and strategies for the new year's. If you're not, I know that we'll definitely encourage you and share some nuggets with you tonight. But let's just check in. We've had some great conversations this year, and I think last time we got together, Majida, you were in Puerto Rico.
Yes, sir.
So tell us a little bit about what was that trip all about, and what were some of the experiences that you had?
Puerto Rico was a girls' trip, more or less. Sister friend of mine invited me with some other friends of hers to take a trip for a few days, and I accepted the offer. I took the trip. I want to go back. I might want to stay longer, if not semi-permanently. But yeah,
So,
Puerto Rico was nice.
all right, and it looks like our helpful trucker Maurice has just joined us.
Yeah, he's still.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
I can see the little thingy going off. So yeah, I can be heard.
I can see clearly now.
There you go. There you go. What's going on with y'all this evening?
The the Avengers are all assembled. Well, I was attempting to catch up with my sister and make some small talk before you jumped in with us, but she wasn't having it tonight. So just keeping it real.
Okay. All I saw
Yeah.
was like the last time I heard from my brother was 2 weeks ago when we were on this call, and I was in Puerto Rico and I couldn't even like join the call, but I did what was required to get things set up so that the call could still go on. So I'm like, you can call me anytime. You don't have to wait till we have a scheduled
I
appearance.
mean, we we do accountability calls every day.
We weren't there either on Sunday. No, no, no. But you don't talk to me on those calls
I mean,
directly.
I get your point.
Yeah, you're
So
you're there for the people. Don't try to play me like
I'm not here to play you. as y'all see, I'm stirring up a little something because apparently I've been neglecting my sister and her family. So I'll put that on my end of the year list. Make sure that I keep better contact
no,
with the
no.
family.
Hey, do you, bro?
more than the scheduled appearances. Apparently, when I'm out doing my own thing, uh, it can
Not
lead to a little
issue.
neglect. Well, cool. Hey, I just checking in. Felt a little cold shoulder. That's all. But hey, we're here tonight
Look,
on our scheduled
look,
call.
look. All right, all right. A little of my saltiness was also because my daughter got out of practice at 8 o'clock. I picked her up at 8. I drove to my grandmother's house, picked up my other daughter who was knocked out, got her in the car, got back to the house, and got the podcast set up before 9 o'clock. And Maurice, we knew that you may not make it on time, but there was no excuse for anyone else not to be on time. I can, I can leave from Southside at 8 o'clock, drive 30 minutes to Northside, get home in the East End by 8:45, clear a car out and a sleeping child, and get my computer set up and be on time. I'm just saying. Can we just,
No excuses is what I'm hearing.
Parents are super people.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently. And that's the only excuse you get. Or the only reason.
Parents got to get it done. They got to figure out a way to get it done.
They got to figure it out.
100%.
Well, forgive me for being a minute late tonight. I thought there was a thing called grace that we're gonna talk about tonight. Let's talk about that. What does it mean to extend a little grace?
Based on the situation that y'all talking about, like grace is 5 minutes early.
Is that what that is? That's the grace?
Yeah. Early is
Grace.
on time.
Grace.
That's what the grace.
Grace was sending you a text message before the call saying where y'all at, because things were set up at least 10 minutes before the call.
Okay.
That was your grace.
That was our grace. Well, listen, we're all here tonight. Man,
accountability, baby.
Right.
Accountability, right?
Sincere, right?
I understand. Well, hey, I won't make any excuses. I won't even share a story because apparently it doesn't matter.
No, how are you doing?
Nothing matters.
No, go ahead. Tell us, how you doing?
I'm alive. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm grateful to be alive. How about you, Maurice? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
You've been just getting back on the road.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
It was good. It was smooth.
Okay.
It was on. As I said, my trip takes me 5 hours with no delays. So based on the time that I left, that I actually pulled out, I got back exactly 5 hours later. So it's all good,
Good stuff.
Cool stuff. Hey, welcome Z Bay the poet, tuning in. Thanks for tuning in and sharing and promoting the show. We appreciate that support as well. So tonight, your host, again, we're into the last 2 weeks of 2021. As a matter of fact, our last call for the year will be on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to closing out the year with a bang and really having a great, powerful message there. But tonight, my brother-in-law, he had a question. Maurice, you came up with a topic. And I want to know what was on your mind as we're talking about faith as entrepreneurs. We hear about it. As you said, we hear about it. But how do you demonstrate it? Especially when things look bleak. So tell me, what was going on that brought this question to your mind? And then we can dive a little bit into this topic.
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was just a podcast topic. Yeah, there wasn't.
Well,
I can't say that though. There was a conversation that I had that kind of made that pop into my mind, but like a lot of the times when I do come up with podcast topics, it's not really a question. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll say that. You'll be like, "Hey, my brother-in-law had a question," and I'd be like, "Nah, I ain't really have a question. It was just, just something thought it was interesting to talk about." But irregardless, let's do it this way. How about this one?
Okay.
What is your perspective on a statement like this? And I might be approaching this the wrong way. Let's just start off right here. You don't need faith if you show up with what's required. If you want more background on that, I can give you some, but I don't want to. Well, I had a conversation with somebody about the subject of faith. And again, I don't want to stretch this out too far, but essentially there was two sides to the discussion. One side leaning more towards the faith argument, You know what I mean? Just focus on faith and believing. The other side of the argument focused more on doing what needs to be done. So, like, just to give an example, we weren't talking about this, but just to give an example, um, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, there are things that an individual, not you, but an individual wants to accomplish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that need to be done to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You can either focus on faith, believing, as people say, focus on that side of it, or you can focus on doing what needs to be done to accomplish the thing you want to accomplish. Put it in something measurable. You want to buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
You want to buy a car. You need a credit score, you need a down payment, you need cash, one of those three. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You either show up with the down payment, the credit score, and the cash and have what you want, what you need, and no faith. Or you can show up with faith. But it seems to me that what would encourage you to show up with a bunch of faith is not having everything that you need.
Okay.
That's why I
Okay.
asked the question. That's why I asked the question, or that's why I said the statement, or what do you think about it? You don't need faith as long as you show up with what's required.
Okay. I love that context. I appreciate that context. That kind of two
Can
sides
y'all
to
hear
a
me?
yeah, we can.
I went out for a second because somebody called me, so I can't hear y'all right now, but I can still see you. But I'll stop talking for a second because something went out. But yeah, tell me your perspective on that, or talk about your perspective on that while I get my audio straight again. Like I said, I just got a phone call. I apologize about that.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I think we'll give the prepared side to Majida, the doing, and I think I'll take the faith side. What do you think, Majida?
You can start doing that.
We're gonna warm her up before the end of this call.
I was warm when we showed up.
1 minute, y'all. I promise you. 1 minute.
We did not start on time because you were 1 minute late.
I even messenger 5 minutes ahead as I was putting everything together. But no, go ahead and answer the question. So the way I heard that question or that context set up is, what do you need more of? Faith, and I don't want to just take it to belief. I think faith is greater than belief, or preparedness, like showing up and doing what's required. And does that require faith? So
I'm going to take a page or a chapter out of Brother Mustafa's book. He brought up the perspective that, it said in the Bible that faith without works is dead, but work without faith is also dead. Like the converse is true. So
how so? Go ahead.
Yes, I've traditionally or historically, however you want to put it, been of the mindset that like just do the work, just do what needs to be done, just do what's required. And over time, I've realized that like it's not enough. It's enough to get results, but it may not be enough to feel fulfilled. So you can do the stuff, you can get the results, and yet if you are out of alignment with what does require faith, and something that John, we've had him on here before, but he would always say, like, if you could accomplish certain goals on your own, like there would be no need, like you don't need God, you don't need faith if you could do it on your own. And the connection, at least for me, is what if what you could accomplish required faith, so that like you can't do it alone? Like of what you're capable, what your capacity to accomplish only is possible with faith. Because you can't do it in your own strength. You can't do it in your own power. And so, yes, it's important to do your part, do what you can do, but also recognize there are things that you can't do, and it's not like you don't have to worry about the part that you like you. So, like, I'll give you an example. You could have a huge vision. Like right now, I have a huge vision of what I want to accomplish, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, it has nothing to do with me. It has so much more to do with the impact that it could have for others. And if I was focused on like what I could do and focused on me, that big goal wouldn't get accomplished because I would get in my own way. I would look at like what I personally could, instead of thinking of, all right, I don't know how I'm going to achieve this, but let me do the next right thing, right? And that next right thing might be taking a test, or the next right thing might be studying, some material. And as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, the people, places, and things and resources are going to be made available to me in order for me to accomplish the greater goal, right? Like people are going to be placed in my path who can help put the puzzle pieces together to realize that greater goal. So I don't know if that answers Maurice's question, but yeah, do what you can do, but there are certain things that you can't do in your own strength. And faith says that lean not into your own understanding.
But in every way, acknowledge the all-knowing. Paraphrase a little bit, but no, that's a great segue. So you mentioned for the things that do require faith, work alone is not enough. And I 100% agree with that side of it. Same token, Maurice, you gave the example of purchasing a car.
Yeah,
And
which is
you
a measurable example. Go for it.
sure, but I think that's that's often where faith is overlooked, right? So for someone who feels like simply doing the work or doing what's required, what may be overlooked is the faith and expectation of a result. Right. Like you have faith in gravity. Why? Because you've seen it demonstrated over and over again. That's a tangible result. If I jump off of a height, gravity is going to carry me down. You have faith in that. Right. If you don't have faith in that, you may get a different outcome than what you expect. But you can have the credit score, you can have the down payment, right? You can show up at the dealer and still be denied. And
Well,
still be denied.
Well, one of the things that you would have is the cash. Is the cash? Oh, I said cash too. Like
Sure.
you're right. You can still get denied. I guess, and I'm gonna let you finish on that. But you're right. Like that's what I meant by having what's required. Like you gonna get denied if you don't have what's required. You ain't gonna get denied if you have what's required, right? And what's required means if they say have a 720 credit score and you got a 650 credit score, that means you show up with the cash to write the check. That's what I mean. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I understand that. But you showed up there under the belief and promise that they're going to do their part as well. You showed up under the belief, or in a sense of knowing that if I do X, evidence has shown me they'll sell me a car. But there's still no guarantee that they will. You know, just like, hey, I could go to the bank to get a loan for a home, and I have the, and we've seen historical examples of this. It could be somebody from the Upper West Side, and then I'm born in the South Side, and we got the same credit score, same income, go to the same bank, same time of day. If you want to take it to an extreme, right?
Same banker.
Same banker.
But your debt to income ratio is higher, so you ain't getting that low.
Well, no. Let's presume it's all the same. But one person could be approved and another denied, right? But both went under the same belief that they did the work. And the faith that they would be approved. All right, so I agree with Majida that work alone isn't enough and faith alone isn't enough. But in every bit of work, there's a bit of faith embedded in the expectation of an outcome.
I was thinking, I thought you were going to go to another place with that. I was thinking, like, you kind of wouldn't do the work unless you had some faith. That's kind of what I'm
Absolutely.
like.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't
That's what I'm
imagine
saying.
doing the work with no faith. Like, I'm doing the work is because I have faith in where the work is going to get me to.
Absolutely.
So others, which basically means that, like, I could have the appearance of somebody, like you could, like as people, we do categorize things. We do look at a thing and say, well, that's not faith. You're not demonstrating faith. But if you're acting, if you're working like that, I would say, like, if you work, like you demonstrating faith if you're working towards it. But like, let me ask you this question. Let's go to the other side of that. Have you ever heard a celebrity say, if you told me I would be where I am now 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it?
Many a time.
So how do you, based on what we're talking about now, because it sounded like the point that y'all were making, which you may not have been, but it sounded like the point was like, you got to have faith, which, I wouldn't disagree with that.
So,
faith, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that would also go along with the work alone isn't enough. That you can continue to do and do and do, but there are forces outside of our control that lead to, the additional exposure that we may find, or the reason that something gains popularity at a moment, or something goes viral, or something becomes a great hit and we get the recognition. We can keep working, but ultimately no one individual can make the decision on whether something is going to be great or not. A lot of it depends on the response of the public, certain forces lining up, a lot of things. But you continue down that path with hope, right? And you go to a definition in the Bible in Hebrews. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's like it's a tangible. It's a belief made tangible. Like, I've seen evidence, and I'm gonna hope for this as well. The evidence of things not seen, right? And people reach levels of success that they had never even imagined. Why? Because whatever they were holding on kept them in the direction that they were going. They continued to do the work in the direction. But nobody was necessarily doing the math on how it would grow beyond their own personal influence.
Yeah, that's out of our control.
It's out of your control, and
that's like planting an apple seed and predicting how much is going to be produced from that apple tree.
Absolutely, good one.
Exactly this many apples at this appointed time. That ain't in your control.
Or even more so, how many seeds are going to come from that tree?
Mm-hmm.
So using that example, does it matter? And I'm just asking questions at this point. Does it matter how much faith you have once you plant that apple seed? Is it safe to assume that you're going to get however many seeds that you're going to get?
You said, does it matter how much faith you have?
Once you plant that seed, that apple seed.
I
In other words, I mean, like, you're gonna get how many seeds from that apple seed that you plant. You're gonna get how many apples that you're gonna get from it.
right.
Like, agree with that?
I agree, but you can't control what you get from the tree. You can only control what you plant. So
Exactly.
I can plant one seed, or I can plant more than one seed.
Exactly.
So focus on what I can control.
Exactly.
So my
I guess
faith is in the planting, not in the
that kind of leads me
produce.
to my next question. So it seems that faith is something that you would bring to the table after you do all that's required.
no.
Okay.
Why would it? Let me ask you. Why would it seem that faith would come after the work?
Because in the analogy that we just spoke about, the work is planting the seed. Now, I just need to plant the seed.
But why would you plant the seed?
I plant the seed and because I hope for a harvest and I have faith in a harvest. But that's what I'm talking about, though.
You
right?
got faith in the seed. You wouldn't plant the seed if you didn't have faith.
Right.
Well, I understand that. So I think, the question is, like, how do we do this when it looks bleak? So, like, after I guess what I'm saying is, again, after I plant the seed, it seems like that's when I need to generate. And I guess maybe for me, because I'm connecting, like, I wouldn't plant the seed unless I had the faith. I wouldn't plant that. So I agree with that, but, like, I wouldn't come up with the money to buy the car unless I had the faith that I would get the car. But I don't really. But like I said, after I plant the seed, it's out of my control.
Right. So,
You know,
I would say to that, we got to stay out of God's business. That's His business.
And you would just be hopeful and have the faith at that point.
So there's a parable.
No, you don't stop planting.
There it is.
I understand that.
So, like, there's a parable. There's a parable that comes from one holy book. It says a man went out to sow seed. Some seeds fell on the path. The birds ate it. Some seeds fell on the rocky ground where there was a little soil. Seed soon sprouted, but when the sun came up, it burnt up the young plants. Some seeds fell among the thorn bushes, which grew and choked out the plants, and some seeds fell on good soil, and the plants produced. So, as Majida just mentioned, like, we can't control what happens to the seed after we plant it.
Of course.
All we have is faith in. Now, it's a matter of, do I have faith in this one seed, or do I have faith in the law of averages of a seed produce? But am I gonna give up after one seed, or continue to plant until a group produces?
I reap a harvest.
I think
Until I reap a harvest, right? So I think you need to have faith before the seed and faith after. But don't put all of your eggs in one seed. Don't put all your faith in one seed. There you go. Because that could be one of the seeds that's cast aside.
What's funny?
He said, "Don't put all your eggs in one seed."
Don't put all your faith. Don't put all your faith in one seed. It's what I'm saying. Right. The visualization, put all your eggs in seed. That's a little strange.
I think a good way to put it, which is something that y'all haven't said yet, but I think a good way to put it is to have faith in the process. And the process is action. The process is work and planting the seed. That's the process. And when looking at it from that perspective, Not losing the faith means never not acting. That's a way to look at it. Never not acting. Like I'm always acting. I'm always planting a seed because I believe, I have faith in the process. I plant enough seeds. I'm not in control of what happens to those seeds. I'm just in control of planting the seeds. So I was kind of for y'all to go to those words, um, to kind of double back around. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say like it's never giving up.
I get it. I would, yeah. That's another way to put it. I could see that.
Like faith is no matter what adversity, challenges, obstacles arise, like I'll do it until right. There is
So, so let me ask you another side of that then. Let me ask about another side of that. You speak on another side.
I think you're going where I'm going with that, but go ahead.
What is a lack of faith? What is that? And I guess
Fear,
let me just give you
doubt.
just give you a tad bit of background on that. So like in the same conversation that I was telling you about initially, one side was saying, this is what I'm gonna do. The other side was saying something to the effect of, you're demonstrating a lack of faith.
Mm, I I
Go
think I
ahead.
understand what you're saying there. So one one side, the first side you say, is demonstrating I only believe in what I can produce. Whereas the other side is saying if you only believe in what you'll produce, you won't get near what you're capable of. Because guess what? What you plant, you're not the soil, you're not the rain, you're not the sun, you're not the bugs, you're not the birds, you're none of those things. You can sit around the seed, you can put a seed in your hand and try to warm it up. You're not gonna get nothing from that seed. That seed has to be cast away from you into a place where it can grow. If we're still sticking with the seed analogy,
I think that's a
that
good
faith
analogy.
that faith that faith requires letting go of what you believe you can control. Faith is the thought put into action. Well, I only believe in what I can do. You will be limited by that for the rest of your life.
I mean, that kind of
I
goes
mean,
in a
you will also reap that as well. I won't say that you won't achieve with that, but you'll also be limited by it.
well, before you say that, before you say
I
that,
already said it.
well, before you stand on that, consider what I just asked about. And I'm only talking about the last part of your statement, which is you'll be limited by that thinking that says, I only believe in what I can produce. So let's go back to the celebrity that will acknowledge, yo, if somebody had told me I would be where I am today 10 years ago, I never would have believed it. In other words, it's almost like they're saying, I acted on faith, but I didn't. I mean, I only saw it from what I could see that could be produced. Like you can only see life from your perspective of what you can be exposed to, or from what you're exposed to. So, like, how does a person go from abstract poverty to extreme wealth when extreme wealth is nothing that they've been exposed to? Like, I don't know how that individual is able to formulate that
I think
vision in their mind. Like, I don't, again, if they're saying, I would have never believed where I am. If you'd have told me this 10 years ago, it's like I couldn't see that far. But I don't know if you're limited by that, because if you were, then you would never make it no further than where you could see yourself. That means nobody that started, like most of these people, like I said, would say that. Like, I didn't believe I would be here where I am right now. So I guess another way of saying that, and going back to the seed analogy, does my but I don't it doesn't seem apparent or obvious that my belief has anything to do with what happens to that seed once I plant it. In other words, I need to believe the process. I acknowledge that, but that seems to kind of contradict what I said a minute ago. Like, the seed don't need my belief; it's gonna do what it's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? This, and going back to the celebrity, like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do as a comedian, as a young Steve Harvey, and I'm gonna do it from the perspective of, I'm gonna put the vision out there as far as I can see it, based on where I stand from right now. But one day I'm gonna be 10 times past that. And it ain't gonna be because I saw it before it happened. That seed is gonna harvest, but it ain't gonna be necessarily because I saw it and believed it, because I didn't even see it. I was just doing it because I loved it at first in the early days. How do you kind
My
of speak on all that?
Majida, like she's itching to jump in. Go
No,
ahead.
no. I hear Et say this all the time. He references this verse, and he says, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. So from just from that, like, we don't even, what we said, we learned in our holy book. Um, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Um, for one, the clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly, right? And so the idea that we don't even have the capacity to, like, a finite mind cannot comprehend things
Infinite.
infinite, right? So Bakar was speaking earlier about, like, the compound effect of planting the seed. We can't even comprehend what that even, like, one apple seed in, I'm gonna just use this analogy, in the Garden of Eden led to how many other apple trees or future seeds. Like, we can't even, because we didn't create all that. You know what I mean? And so, to, like, that's why I say we got to get out of God's business. Like, allow him to control the multiplying, the growing.
Mm.
Like, that's his business. Look, I can do this little part right here. And to your point, Maurice, that was my mindset for a long time. Was like, I only focused on, like, what I could do, and based on what I could do, I could see what the outcome could be. But something was placed inside of me that said, you desire more than what you can see, and you don't know how to achieve that on your own. Like, I had to learn to let go, right? I had to learn to, like, give up control, and, like, all right, I've done it my way, I've seen the result of that. Hey, from the outside looking in, may not look bad. However, there's something within me that says that there's more that I'm capable of. And I don't know how to bring that out on my own. So I gotta lean. I gotta what ET say, lean with it, rock with it. I gotta lean into not doing things in my own power, right? Do your part, right? But allow the creator, allow the universe, God, whoever you want to, right? However you want to. I actually, true story, right? The other night, I like to try to have some quiet time, and um, I'm, like, sitting in the middle of the night, and, like, I hear this faint voice, and, like, as soon as I heard it, I didn't know if I was, like, dreaming or, like, but, like, it was like the voice of a woman. And so, like, when I woke up, or, like, at that moment, I was just like, the first time like, this is the thought that I had. The first time I heard the voice of God, I dismissed her. Because, like, in my mind, like, God is not a her. And, like, if that was God's voice, right? Because I'm, like, looking for God to speak to me. And, like, if that's what I was hearing at that moment, and I immediately dismissed it because it didn't sound like what I thought it should sound like, because I've been told my whole life that God is of the male persuasion, then, like, that's not my business, right? Like, I know that's kind of off topic, but, like, the idea is that my mind cannot comprehend what I didn't create, or what can be created from what's been put, like, in each of us. There's there are gifts, there are talents, there are things that are meant to be brought to fruition, right? To be manifested. In order for us to recognize or to grow our relationship with our creator. And that can only be recognized if we acknowledge him. And how do we acknowledge him if we think that we can do it all on our own? Like, how are people going to recognize who our creator is and his or her impact in our lives if they can't see the evidence of it through your life? So, I don't know.
I'll pick up from there. And you make a great point in that there's so much more beyond us as individuals that is required in order to multiply, to grow, and to manifest. Maurice, I'm gonna take it back to the seed analogy. You were talking about, like, your belief doesn't matter to the seed. Yeah, the seed doesn't need you to believe in it. You didn't create the seed. Okay, the seed don't need you to believe in it, but you do.
If the seed is a seed of thought, if we're switching to that analogy, but go ahead. I'm talking about a physical. Right now.
It doesn't need you to believe in it, but you do need to believe in it in order to see it manifest. Oh, you just jumping in. All right, what's up, Mister? Welcome to the call tonight. We're talking about how do you demonstrate faith.
I hear you.
Talking about how do you demonstrate faith and how much faith, if any, is needed to get what you desire, to do the things that you can show up and do that's required. All right. And we've carried the conversation around different areas. Jump in wherever you feel like you fit in. But I was just sharing the point that belief is required for any thought that you put up. Like, you can have a thought, but if you don't believe in it, guess what? It won't translate to action.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it will not translate to action.
I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if I can agree with that. I say, if we're talking about the process is a seed grow. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all heard ideas like there are no new thought. Now, I ain't going to discuss whether that's true or not, but if you believe that there are no new thought, then to me, that's evidence right there. Like, so a seed is put out there, a thought is put out there, it's going to manifest. It's going to manifest. It may manifest back in your life directly. It may manifest in somebody else's life. We're not able to detect what goes on behind the scenes, but I truly do believe that no different than you can make a phone call and deliver a message from one side of the planet to the other side of the planet that way. If you can do that, if they figured out the science behind how to manifest that in a phone call, then that same science exists in thought. So
it started as a thought.
Exactly.
It had to have started as a thought. So
the point that I was making
go ahead.
The process is a thought is going to manifest. So I don't, me, man, my take is like a minute ago, you were saying that a person is going to be limited if they can't if they only going on their own beliefs and what they see and if they only believe in what they themselves can create. Yet you do have individuals that will say that they got way beyond what they thought that they could create. Somehow it got done. So I question whether you're limiting yourself if you can only act from what you can see. I question that, you know what I mean? And I also question whether, because again, the process, the seed is going to grow. I question when you say, well, if the seed, you know what I mean, like if you don't believe in it, like it ain't gonna grow, it ain't gonna it might manifest in your life, it might manifest in somebody else's life. Somebody else might receive that thought as inspiration and act on it, but it's gonna grow. And as I say that, what you should hear in that statement is a faith in the process. The seed is gonna grow. Like I believe that's the process. On every observable level, that's the process. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why I'm pushing back against what you're saying a little bit, because some of the things, I don't know. Like I said, I've heard celebrities say before, like, yo, man, like I would have never believed. You'd have told me I was gonna be here, I would have never believed. Watch this one right here. How about this one? And then I'll let Vince or whoever else wants to chime in. I was listening to a guy the other day talk about how when he was a child, he was asked to, everybody's going through the exercise in school where they need to, the teacher wants you to put down what you want to be when you get up, what you see yourself being. And he wasn't able to put anything down on the paper because he just didn't have a vision for what, you know, I mean, what he wanted to be later on in life at that point, at that young of an age. People in the class made fun of him. The teacher kind of didn't make fun of him, but she kind of did, you know what I mean? She made an example out of him, if you will. Later on, right now in life, what he does is he's a podcaster. And he's one of those, one of the internet guys. You know what I mean? He's a full-time podcaster. And watch this dynamic. What he was born to, in hindsight, the way he sees it now, is what he was born to do didn't even exist. He was asked to put down on the paper what he saw himself on in life. Again, that kind of goes back to the point that I'm making, like that his lack of seeing where he could be and belief in it. Obviously, if he couldn't see it, he couldn't cast the vision. It didn't have anything to base it on. It didn't exist. Mm-hmm. It didn't stop him from getting there. You know what I'm saying? So,
matter of fact, you could even confirm he didn't make up a vision either. He believed I ain't seen it yet.
Yeah. So I mean,
believed firmly in whatever I want to be. I haven't seen it yet. I have no vision for it. Where somebody else may have said,
I'll be quiet in just 1 second. And to me, when you factor that in, like that's an X factor to this whole thing, especially in the time that we living in. We living in a time that things are moving so fast that some of us have children right now that will be doing things in the next 15 years that don't even exist today. So absolutely. To me, that's the X factor in all of this. So like I'll say again, I don't know if you're limited to, like if I can't see it, I'm gonna be limited by that. I don't know. I got a couple examples that seem to contradict that.
We can check the tape, but I don't think I say you're limited in what you see. By the way, for those who of a certain age who don't know what a tape is, look, it was a recording device before the disc. Okay, that's what a tape is, right? But anyway, now I recall, and I said it's not that you have to believe in what you can see, but I was saying if you only believe in what you by yourself are capable of, you'll only achieve what you by yourself are capable of, but you'll also be limited by that. And what you see, what you're exposed to, may factor into that. Will factor into that. It will factor into that. Right? We have great imaginative minds. Those imaginative minds require some stimulation that is external, but there's also stimulation that's internal, right? And I think about Minton and his artwork, like the pieces that he put out. I don't see anything like that outside of me. It doesn't exist in that form. It exists only in his mind, or first and foremost in his mind. What's that?
We can hear you now.
It exists first in his mind, just like any other thought, right? And when you want to take it to something more tangible, for those entrepreneurs, like they see a solution to a problem, or they see a problem and believe there's a solution that they can come to. But solution doesn't yet exist until they get either exposure to the solution or exposure to people who working on something that's tangent or along the direction of the solution. Right? That we didn't go from horse and wagons to rocket ships. But progressively, somebody saw the horse and wagon and said, man, can I make a vehicle with wheels? Can I make something that's, that's like this train, the steam powered or whatever kind of power? And then from there, we graduated to different types of vehicles that could do different types of things with different types of fuels. But it was always progressive. Somebody saw something in their mind and they sought to solve a problem in that direction. And I think when it comes to entrepreneurs, even in bleak times, the way that they demonstrate faith is not by backing down or giving up, but either being able to pivot, to recognize, okay, maybe the direction I'm going isn't the only direction I go. Maybe I need to take a different perspective or take a different angle on it. Or they double down and say, oh yeah, I can feel it. I can sense I'm getting resistance because I'm moving in the right direction.
Or even to that point, though, when things are bleak, you rise to the occasion, because that's when a solution is required. That's when a different way of thinking is needed, because it's like we don't see a way out. And that's when your creative mind starts to turn and you're all right, like, how can we figure a way out? And that's where, like I said, the part that you like, the substance, right, that you can't see is then able to be manifest, because you're seeking for a solution because of the condition that you're in. What up, bro?
I'm here. Saw the invite, and it was something that you had said in your when I turned it on. I was like, "Ooh!" It was when you were speaking about hearing that still small voice, and who it reflected. Because for some reason I had been kind of mulling over those ideas about how people identify God's presence or assigning God a gender or anything of that nature. And I don't know, I just had this like this moment of revelation, and you were my example as I was talking. What was it? What am I calling it? Introvertedly talking to myself. You were my example of like define, like, because of how God is gendered as a male in most religious literature and such. And then the way that you like went to describe it is like, well, maybe I didn't hear her. And I was like, did she just say her?
I
like,
did.
And then like the way you described it, I was like, that's the exact, like, it was partly because I think the example that I was thinking, and I was just trying to, figure it out in my mind. It was just kind of a powerful statement. So it was interesting that you kind of were on the same, whenever you had that revelation. I was like, well, I don't have to share this with my Gita. She already there. She already figured that out for herself. Not that I was trying to explain it for you, but it's just kind of like how women, identify. And my amazing.
Oh, we losing you? No, he was.
So, and what's the dang, I forgot.
Dang, that connection. I think you make a good point though, because in that space of faith, like, requires you to connect with some part of yourself. That space of,
definitely.
I think he's
Because
Right
I
about the
was thinking, I
connection.
didn't want to cut you. I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, Carl. But I was thinking maybe if he just has a little bit of faith, his connection will come back. But faith ain't required in that situation. You just need a better connection or to get closer to the router. You know what I mean? Like boom, like that's what's required.
But
I
look,
breathe in faith, brother. It's always present.
it's let's talk about that. Okay, no, that's a great statement. That's a great statement to pivot the conversation. What do you mean by I breathe in faith? It's always present. Because Maurice is sharing some examples or some ideas on, does there exist a space where faith is not present, and what's produced from that? Whereas you, man, I'm never. You're saying you're never in a space where faith isn't present. Why is that, or how is that for you?
It just came out my mouth, man. I don't.
No, come on, interrogate that.
I had no.
Talk to that. Give me one of them introverted, extroverted conversations right now.
No, it was in line with these thoughts that I was having about. I've had about just kind of. Somebody mentioned something years ago about like prayer, and you know I think we used to hear in the temple all the time, like a good thought is a prayer, and taking things out of the context of it has to be during this specific like performative act to say that it's a prayer or it's something else. And so I was like, if I believe truly and I kind of verbalize it and make it a commitment to say, oh yeah, like this little thought I had, that was a prayer. You know, every now and then I might just like be like, oh yeah, I made it home safe, praise Allah. Or I might have escaped a accident or something, praise Allah. I mean, I just say it every now and then, just and it don't have to be this like, oh, I had this like harsh moment it's kind of in line with that. Like, I'm just always, I feel like even though I might not assign every moment, I might not be walking around thinking faith 24/7. I acknowledge the presence of faith, and ensure that I practice it when it does come to mind. But I don't know. It was just a thought. Am I frozen or is he frozen?
No. Oh, it was him.
Yes, he's out of here.
He got that drop connection.
So yeah, I don't know. I've taken in my mind. I feel like I've taken this that thought of like walking in faith out of this context of like being super religious about it, and it just being like I'm thankful that I have what I have regardless. And we lost both of them, whatever. But yeah, and it was just this thought of like I'm thankful that I have what I have, or I have just expressing gratitude in that sense. So that's where I feel like it doesn't have to be about. I feel like things can be treated as like either the macro or the micro, but what about the gray area? There's a lot of stuff that happens in between that we don't acknowledge that is equally as important or powerful. As Nas said, no idea is original. It's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you did, but how it's done. It ain't about that end product. I don't know. I just wanted to use that lyric because he was talking about Maurice was talking about something.
No, I mean, I think you make a good point in terms of like what you said. Like that lyric itself is just, it's not what you did, but how it's done.
Yeah.
How it's done, right? So like your process, kind of back to Maurice's point about like the process is how did he term it? The process is like faith is believing in the process, right? Like how you go about doing things will lead to a result, right? If you do things well, then the result of doing things well has a consequence. If you don't do things well, the result of not doing things well has a consequence. And so what is it that you can control? You can control how well you do things. And so the faith is in, I will do things with integrity. I will do things with class. I will do things with honesty, with the counter, like however you do things. Or you can say, I will do things cutthroat. I will do things underhanded. Right, like how you go about doing the things that you do will lead to a result, will lead to a consequence, and you reap not what you sow, but multiply what you sow. So if you sow good seeds, you'll reap a good harvest. That's the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you sow bad seeds, right, or bad thoughts, right, if your thoughts are worry and doubt and fear and indecision, and like it's going to compound to regret, and right, like a compound effect of worry and doubt and fear results in something that you don't want. So you get to decide, right? And we have enough evidence around us to say that when you do what's in your power, and granted, even to the point of faith, we are in a position to live in a space or in a place that allows us to exercise our faith freely to be able to get the result, right? Some people have to hold on to that faith with no prospect of their lives being greater, but they hold on to that faith. And we can even talk about it with the history of this country. Like our ancestors in this country had the faith that the future for their posterity would be better. And so they did what was required, kind of back to Maurice's point, they did what was required with the faith that, like, it won't always be this way. This too shall pass. And so because we have that model here, we have that history here, we can think of other places in the world who are dealing with similar conditions. Maybe it's not chattel slavery, but humans in certain living conditions who don't have certain opportunities, who are in oppressed environments, and we can say to them, this too shall pass. There is, maybe not for this, right? Like maybe not everybody in your generation will have the opportunity to, but like there is hope for your future because there's evidence from our history that it's possible. Don't know how I got on that point, but that was.
I was just at a thought too about faith. Oh yeah, where is faith not present, and why is it? I think it's more so like, why is it not acknowledged in moments? And I think it's because like some things can be, there's like clear ways to go about doing certain things where it's like, oh, in order to wash this dish, I know I need to get this soap, put it on this rag, wash it with some water, put it in the dryer. There's no moment where you really need to necessarily be like, oh yeah, God, please make sure I wash this dish clean. You know, it's not necessary. I get that, Maurice. But then like, had something happened in the midst of doing something so minor like that could be tragic, like, you know, you break the glass, you know, the glass cuts your hand, and now you're like, oh, why did this happen to me? And now you start to think about, oh, what did I do to cause this? You know, and some people might not be like, oh, I was washing this dish wrong. But it's usually only when like something small can turn into something larger that we think about the consequences of doing some small act that led to some larger thing. But like, we don't think about how many times that doesn't happen and how that's, you know, the faith exists there. Like, oh, I got faith that I got the ability to wash this. It's almost like walking these days. Like, I got faith to have the ability to wash this dish. We don't think about that ability, but it's just as, I think, as important and necessary to, you know, to acknowledge that, even if you don't got to go around every day like, oh yeah, I'm able to wash a dish, I'm so grateful. But like, until you're not able to do it, it doesn't become important to you, you know?
See, fear will turn a small obstacle into a crisis. right? Or a lack of faith, right? Doubt, fear will turn a small obstacle into a crisis because you continue to imagine worse possibilities and then attract and act in the direction of worse possibilities. But as you just mentioned, we don't often use that same. I say this to my partner all the time. Use your imagination for good. And most often, we find people don't imagine greater possibilities from small seeds or small thoughts or small opportunities, right? Oh man, I woke up today, and now the whole world of opportunity is open to you today. Instead of I got to get up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now you just set yourself on a path, right?
Right.
Of obstacles and more obstacles. And not that obstacles are bad, but how you do them, right? We were just talking about that. How you do them. So, do you hope for tragedy, struggle,
Mm-hmm.
crisis, or do you hope for peace, prosperity, happiness, and joy? That's where your faith is going to take you. Is
Yeah.
whatever direction you point it in. But faith can work in reverse. We call
Mm-hmm.
that fear. If you again, I will go back to the seed example, but if I don't get this one seed to grow, I'm giving up.
Right. I mean, I was like when I was I can like there's this example, and I think it fits this a little bit too. But like when I ran the half marathon, when I started running out here pretty much with the run group in May, like I was having leg problems and knee pains or whatever.
Yeah.
And I ran that half marathon, and I was like, yo, these pains are a little scary. And I know that once I got in my 30s, I was like, some of these things could last long. Like if I do the wrong thing, a little tweak can go a long way these days. But like I just was so unsure about my ability at that point. Where prior to that, like just walking and doing normal things was whatever. But like prior to that, it was like, I was like, yeah, I was just walking, just running. But I had to rethink, and I also had to have the faith that like I could get the results that I wanted. Took my rest. Mother luckily bought me some new running shoes, and my running experience has changed. I mean, my legs have gotten stronger. But like it was I didn't ever question the ability to walk, that much. But I had to take some actions to make it possible. I'm about to run another half marathon in a week. Yeah.
So let me ask this question as we kind of closing up for the night. When has faith failed you?
These artist calls that I apply for all the time, and I get disrespected for. I mean, so grad school. First time I applied to grad school, I was like, oh, I'm all right. Got my applications, 2 schools, boom, I'm gonna be good. Got them 2 letters back, and I didn't have a plan after that. And I was just like, dang, and I was like, I was hoping for it. I don't know what actions I could have taken, to at the time to make it better, but I at least was able to look back at what I had turned in and what I submitted and understand that like it wasn't time. I wasn't ready. I didn't know what I was, I didn't know what I was applying for. I just was, it was the direction to go. So I was just like, so yeah, I had to learn that I wasn't ready for it. But I was, same thing. All these things that I apply for, I just be like, come on. It'd be small, so I don't hurt that when I don't get it. But I'd be like, man, I really wanted that. I didn't get it.
But no, demonstrate how. But how did the faith fail you? Because what I heard was you learned something.
Thanks.
So how did the faith
It never
fail
does. It never does. It's only like temporary, It's just when you
done changed this too quick. One question.
I never get those. I never got to participate in those artist calls. But it's, I mean, I don't know. I always look at the, you know, the potential lesson and everything. So it is what it is. You know, I always find a positive out of it.
I mean,
That wasn't for me. That's all I do. That wasn't for me. That's cool. And I've learned, especially with those artist calls and stuff like that, that like, because they're so plentiful, I'm like, there's too many opportunities for me not to get an opportunity.
Mm.
So okay, I don't get the first 10, but if I apply for 20, two will come out of it, you know. So it's not a big deal. You learn what works for you and what's best. But anyway, that was a good question.
So faith would only fail you if you stopped at 10.
Mm.
I mean, faith fails you when you don't attempt, I guess. When you don't try. You know, there's only progress or was it stagnation? I don't know. I said this to Elisa this morning. It was a joke. And I was just like, I was like, movement is life. She was like, is it? I was like, what's the opposite of that? So as long as your atom's still making, as long as we're still doing that, you know, you all right.
How about you, Majida?
When has faith failed me?
It's a trick question.
Right.
I
would have to concur with Mensa. Like, it doesn't. Back to the point we made earlier, like faith is in the process. Faith is
Y'all too freaking positive some goddamn time.
Welcome to the family, Brother Bay.
We're coming back to you, Maurice.
Practicality would be good.
It was like inside the Bay household.
This
is what it was like inside our Bay household for all those 20 plus years. Go ahead.
I can't think of a time that like okay, I guess I could say that like faith failed when I had faith in something that wasn't for me. Just kind of similar to what Vincent said. Like, it wasn't for me, right? Like I had faith in this relationship, or I had faith in this
business opportunity.
Yeah, whatever it may have been, like this is it. Like this is gonna work. This is gonna be it. And to Mensa's point, like, am I prepared for the opportunity? Am I in position to be able to receive the harvest that will come from, or do I need to cultivate myself to another degree? Do I need to level up, if you will, in order to be able to receive what's to come, you know? And mentor of mine says all the time, he says, your income will only grow to the extent that you do. So if I'm not growing, I'm not getting better, but I want things to change, but I'm unwilling to change. Like my faith in like, oh, God just gonna bless me, like, and I haven't done anything to earn or deserve it, right? Like not that like for God, like I don't have to deserve His love. I don't have to, but like there's a part that I play in the process. So my faith can't be in Him doing everything He's supposed to do, and me not having to do anything. Like that's the wrong kind of faith. That's, I don't call it blind faith, or like faith ain't just in God doing His job and me not doing mine. Like the two go hand in hand. You do your part, I'm gonna do my part.
Yeah, I call that a fool's faith.
Right.
That's when faith failed me, when I was foolish.
Because like I don't expect to, and this is crazy, right? Because actually another thing that occurred before the call was leaving my daughter's practice, right? We were like talking at first, and then I decided to turn on the podcast, right? And like she ain't want no parts of listening to it. And I got like pissed off. Like I just gave her the silent treatment. I didn't want to even talk to her. Because
you brought that same energy to the start of this call.
Yo, I was hurt, because it's just like, hold on. I support what you are interested in or what you're committed, right? Oh, her comment to me was, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to take you to practice. I don't want to pay for you to go to practice. I don't want to drive and wait for you to finish practice. Like, how would you feel if I said that to you? Like, that's how I feel about you dismissing what is of value to me. And so, as I sat in my silence and she sat in hers, I thought about that. Like, dang, God probably be like that with me. Like,
Yo, I was having these same thoughts a week ago. About obedience, about our obedience.
I be
Right.
wanting to, like, I want God to support me in what I want to do, but I don't want to do what He want me to do. It don't work that way. So get your get your feelings. Your feelings aside, and that's what I can appreciate about being a mother. Like, those are the lessons that I learned indirectly from my children, because I like see myself in them in my relationship with my father, my creator, right? So not my earthly father.
I'm telling you, when they when they shared with us growing up that chapter 23, consider thou art a parent. I took that to heart. And that first virtue, teach them obedience, and he shall bless thee. Like, that's a lesson that we're all still learning as we grow. Developing that absolute obedience that the one that created us knows better than any one of us. That, to me, for those that are entrepreneurs, that are working on their purpose, that are working in their passion, that are working to transition into something that's more meaningful or valuable, or may just be doing what they have to do to take care of their family. I think each and every one of us here would encourage you to have faith every step of the way, that whatever you're going through is for you and not just happening to you. Even when things look bleak, it's to test you in your faith and in your work. All right.
What about you, Mauro?
Yeah, I want to hear your answer. When has faith failed you?
I don't really have an answer to that question directly. I will say, I believe, and I'm keeping in mind that we summarizing here. I will say that I believe that faith can get you in a jam. I will say that. I mean, there's a lot of people out here that had faith that the relationship that they got into was the right relationship, or that the job that they were on or that they took, they decision to make, it was the right job for them. Like, I got a saying, like, everybody's okay until they're not. The job that you had was okay until, they laid you off, or until something that had to happen. The relationship that you was in was okay until something happened. So, and like, you hear people say that, like, I just knew he was the one. I just knew she was the one. I'm thinking right now about the Malcolm X movie, when his wife told him that, are you so blinded? She asked something about him being blinded by his faith. You can be blinded by your faith and vision, right? So I don't know if I could say that faith has ever failed me, because failure is something that, it hasn't failed if the story isn't over yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't ask you to define failure. I just threw it out there.
Yeah. So I don't know if I can say that failure has ever failed me. Excuse me, that faith has ever failed me. But I can't say going situations where, faith got you into a jam. Definitely. So, that's
to that point, Maurice. I think it's important to acknowledge what or who you have faith in. Because if my faith in a relationship is based on my faith in this person who is infallible and like that, my
No,
faith
not infallible, fallible.
fallible, right?
Yes. Faulty is what that word means. Yes. With fault.
And if my faith is in that person, then it's misplaced, right? Like my faith ain't in my faith, if anything, should be in me, in my creator. Those are like, that's the only thing I can control me, and I can believe in what I have learned or understand about my creator. Like that's all I can do. Humans, uncontrollable, right? So like, and that's something that I can't. Faith hasn't failed me in terms of relationships, in the sense that like I never had so much faith in a person that I wasn't willing to walk away. Right? Like, if this ain't working, we just ain't supposed to be together, right? Like, I'm good on that. We can just go our separate ways. You do you, and I'm gonna do me. So like, it wasn't this what is it? Not connection or dependency per se, but like attachment. There wasn't so much of an attachment to this finite thing that I couldn't let it go, right? To open myself up for something different or greater, right? Like this, it shouldn't be, like faith.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, faith for me is in the like you don't know what you don't know, but like the belief that you can learn, you can grow, you can get better, right? So to your point, like sometimes with faith, you said it can get people stuck. It's because their belief is in what is, not what could be. Like,
well, and also keep in mind that I brought up the example of like faith in a relationship, you know what I mean? Like knowing that you was with the right person and finding out that you wasn't. And I brought up the example of Malcolm X, right? Like his wife addressing his being blinded by his faith, but like faith in your country. I'm thinking about a whole bunch of terminologies right now, like faith in your country. A lot of people right now that their faith in their country has been shattered. Their faith in their government has been shattered. Their faith in their religion has been shattered. Their faith in the education system, the judicial system, the fair. Now I'm thinking about that guy, Alexander Vinderman. I know that his name probably doesn't, y'all probably don't know that, but he was one of the people that testified in some of this information, this governmental information, like dealings with other countries and all of that stuff, man. And he's a patriot. But like the way that he got dealt with, just to keep the story short, like he talked about like how his faith was shattered. You know what I'm saying? Like he had belief in the system and in the government, and it's like they turned their back on him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm speaking about faith from a wide perspective, man. You know what I mean? When I say that, your faith, can get you in a jam. Not speaking out against faith, you should definitely have it. And I want to say one more thing here too, and address one more thing, and then I'll be quiet. Everybody here on the show tonight has talked about God, except for me. And like one of the reasons why I don't talk about God more, especially in discussions like this, is because was a bunch of reasons, but one is because everybody has different perspectives of God. And I feel like when you introduce something into the discussion that we're not all clear on, as an invite to murky up the water. You know what I mean? Like we're not all clear. And when I say we all, I don't mean us four. I mean generally speaking, like any two people that you put together, they probably have different perspectives on God, right? So that's one thing. But another aspect of that is, man, I believe that whatever God is doing is being done. And whatever God is, that's what God is. I don't believe that God is doing something for me that isn't being done for everyone. I don't believe that God chooses me to receive a blessing over somebody else. I don't believe that God gives me something and takes away something from somebody else. I don't believe that God works in that way, right? And so the point that I'm making when I say that is, because you don't have to agree with my beliefs in God. The point that I'm making is, whatever God is, that's what God is. But irregardless of whatever it is that God is, which is consistent, like whatever He is that it is that for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But yet when we look out at people's lives, we see different levels of happiness, success, personal attainment, self-esteem, and all of that stuff. So if God is consistent in the atmosphere, yet we still all get into different places. To me, it doesn't seem that God is the differentiating factor. If that was the case, then it would almost be like God choosing some to receive and choosing others not to. And that kind of goes to my perspective, how I see God. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons why I don't speak about God more in discussions like this, because I want to talk about what's in my control.
Right.
And whatever God is or isn't, I don't have control over what spirit is. I do have control over me. So in discussions like this, that's the reason why I don't talk about God more, because I don't have any control over that. You know what I mean? I want to only speak about, this is just me saying my perspective. I don't want to step on anybody else's toes. You know what I mean? Like how y'all address a subject like this. But me personally, like, I want to talk about what's in our control, and I want to try to find the common denominator among that. Like, there's too many people that succeeded, that came up in life not doing what you would say is required to succeed. Like, too many drug dealers them came up and living a good life right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, to really say
I was gonna say, who's to say they didn't
that they deserve
do what was required to succeed?
I mean, it's
Success is just an outcome.
Watch this. It's too many young people dying randomly in school shootings for no reason at all, for us to say, the people that got the success deserve the success, and the people that didn't deserve it.
Right.
It's just too much going on for us to say that. So again, I be looking for the common denominator. I'm looking for what's in our control. That's I'm set up on that.
And to respond to that, I definitely appreciate your perspective. What I, from the people that I listen to and follow, what differentiates them from me, right? Like, I've had a marginal level of success, and when I see people at the next level, what they have that I haven't had is faith, right? Like, they operate with a certain level of faith in what they can, and their work ethic, right? Like, so to that point, right? All right, like, all right, ET get up at 3:00 in the morning. Who willing to do that day in and day out, right? You can have his results if you're willing to do what he's willing to do. So you could do that too. But all right, you can get up at 3 a.m., but what you doing at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, we got that plan.
Yeah, like at 3 a.m., he's having conversations with God, right? Like, that's his process. And he has certain results. But like, when I look at the results of his life, his family, his finances, his faith, right? Like, things are in alignment, right? Like, there's a certain sense of harmony from the outside looking in him being able to be who he is authentically, have a connection with his family and close relationships, have the finances, and his, and to be able to showcase his gift, if you will. And he attributes that to his faith. So maybe that's not my process, but I'm seeing that example and that resonates with me. So Like that's the path that I'm pursuing in terms of, all right, how do I make this connection with doing the work and incorporating faith into the work to get the results that I see he's getting, right? And the people around him getting. Because that's attractive to me. When I've been in other environments where like faith has been not so much dismissed, but like overlooked, or like, don't worry about that part. Just make these phone calls, go get this money, right? Like the motivation for getting the work was like just pound the pavement,
Material.
grind, hustle, and you can get this money. Like I've gotten money and that doesn't fulfill me. But like living my purpose does. Being who I am does. Right? And I've said this before, like when you're clear about your values, it becomes easier to make decisions. So like there are certain things that I value that faith aligns with in order to help me to move forward and make progress, right? Because like I said, from the outside looking in, people go like, girl, you got it going on, you got this, you got that. The material stuff is stuff. I want inner peace, right? Like what does it say in the Quran? It says men are seeking peace, but there's but one way that peace may be obtained, and that is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally to all nations and all lands. Like, how do we get there, right? Like, how, like that's, like everybody want peace, not happiness. They want peace. Like, real tough, right? Like,
Yeah, happiness is for the wise man.
Eternally. Everybody see
that part. Yeah.
Did any or everybody watch King Richard?
Not yet. I need to see it. Who got a connection? I need it.
I do. I sent you HBO Max. It's there. Yo, you gotta watch it like this weekend.
Yeah, I know.
I've
been trying to go over mother's house to watch it, but just saying. So, like, I asked her if she can send me the code. She don't know how to get it. So send me your code so I can go watch it.
My code? I sent it to you.
I thought you did, but I don't know where you sent it.
To your phone.
Okay.
I texted to you.
I wasn't okay. I think
She got it at the. They got it on at the. They got it at the crib.
Yeah. She had to show.
Get to your point.
Oh, that movie identifies this topic. It covers this whole topic. That's what I was going to say. If you haven't seen it, it covers this. I mean, and to not spoil it, and like the reason.
Watch it tonight.
The reason that the reason that it made me cry is because of what we were talking about here. Is when you've seen the results. We all know who Venus and Serena is, but when you watch that film, it's something about knowing the result and seeing the work that was done to get that result, and that the amount of faith that was like just existed, not just within like the faith that was like imbued on Venus and Serena through their father. It was just like that happened. Happened.
Right.
And then it's just like, yeah, that happened. Like, oh my God, that happened. So it was just and it was just
it's the blueprint.
The amount of it was because you started talking about ET, and it was just like seeing the amount of work that Richard Williams had put in to ensure that his daughters became who he believed that they could be. And that movie then reminded me of LeVar Ball and his family, and how he's pretty much created and done the same thing with his sons, where it's like, yo, y'all out here calling me crazy for doing all these things I'm doing. But then you watch that movie and you're like, I witnessed this version in real life, and then this is what was happening like a generation or so before with King Richard or Richard Williams. So it was a good movie. It's a good movie, and it covers this topic, I think, very well.
And I think that speaks to the point I made earlier about just like historically, like we have examples in this country from our, from our people to show evidence that like you all you need is the faith of a mustard seed, right? As they say, right? With this faith, right? Certain opportunities Richard Williams didn't have. He didn't have access, but because of sacrifices that his generation made, those same opportunities weren't
became available.
Yeah, they became available for his daughters, right?
And he created a lot of opportunities, which is where I was going to get to what Maurice was talking about. It's like, that point between, like that faith in God and faith in yourself is like the point that, like, God is doing what God's doing. It ain't really a way we can fully understand that. And that's about the point where I'm like, all right, now it's my turn to take the wheel. I have control over some of this. Like, there's no reason I'm having these thoughts or whatever for nothing. Like, there's some control that I have to have to be able to put these things into action. And so it's like, all right, I can sit around and, like, think, oh yeah, God gonna work for me. I'm gonna sit here and God gonna make me an artist. God gonna, until I pick up a pencil or a brush, I ain't making no art. So
we the only creatures on this planet given the ability, a gift to reflect like that. Everything else,
Bambi looked in the water and saw itself.
It's fantasy, man. That's fantasy. That's fantasy. Every other creature on this planet operates on instincts.
Yeah.
Operate on instincts. And what is that instinct built in? It's in their nature. It's in their nature. Man has the ability to go against his nature. Everything else on this planet exists naturally. We're the only ones that have the ability to go against our nature. So to me, faith is, well, first it takes awareness because of how we design. We got to come into awareness of it.
Sometimes we need to go against our nature.
But that's because we're truth and falsehood strangely mixed. We have to be able to distinguish what's high and what's low.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're actually gifted that ability to govern all things. So as we go, nature goes on this planet. We tear things up, nature responds in kind. We take care of it, it gives bountifully, right? So to me, this conversation that we're having about faith is about, again, awareness, self-awareness. We talk about that all the time. Understanding yourself and your connection to that which is unseen or that which is not understood, right? It doesn't have to be a conversation with God, but if we, again, just a relationship with nature, right? Anybody who studies nature, natural phenomena, recognize, hey, we have a natural connection to all of these things as well. And we have to reflect on it. We also have to take action and exercise faith in that regard. Hey, I plant a seed. The odds are it's going to grow in the right conditions. I keep planting seeds. I increase those odds. And the beauty of a seed is a seed will multiply the seeds beyond anything I can do on my own. We have examples of that in nature. So what does that look like in us? What seeds, what thoughts are we planting within ourselves and allowing to flourish? Yes, some seeds are going to fall. Look, people like me who get, hundreds and millions of ideas, but know that every idea isn't going to come to fruition. Maybe not in this time. But which ideas can I keep a focus and attention on? What ideas am I nurturing? With action, with attention, with work, and of course, faith, right? Belief that I continue to pour energy, pour resources here. It's going to grow something. It may not be exactly what I imagine it to be, but the thought, I had faith in the thought when it came to me, and then I took action upon it. The thought is already manifest. The thought is not manifest. The thought is already real when it comes to you. So faith is continuing to believe in the reality. That's what manifests it. Everything that you see around you is on delay. It's the afterthought.
Mm-mm.
That's what the manifest is. It's the afterthought of action. Somebody, I'm looking at a bed in front. Somebody thought, man, I want something a little more comfortable than straw to rest on. And through a combination of experiences and merchants and exchange of information and resources, they put together the materials that are Tempur-Pedic. You know what I'm saying?
They didn't
Or
go
whatever.
raw to Tempur-Pedic. They might have had pillows, Then
I'm talking about today. I know we didn't go directly from straw mats to Tempur-Pedic, but over time the thoughts continue to progress. But it started with somebody not wanting to lay on hard rock or hard ground. Okay, you know what? Let me throw some of this. Yeah, that's better. Hey man, can this cotton thing can we put some of that together? Can we? You know what? Maybe we can just keep a whole bunch of it together and stuff it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But how are we gonna hold it? Well, if I take these, it just the thoughts just keep developing.
Maybe they
over
just
time.
laying on a nice, voluptuous woman, and they were like, I should recreate that.
Probably that would be me, right? But not to get past the point. But yeah, I truly believe that like everything that we can have faith in is connected to our own nature, and so we really have to tap in to demonstrate like what we have faith in. It's going to be a reflection of us, of how we see ourselves, how we see the world around us. And if you don't see the world that you desire to be in, you got a couple options. You can seek it out to get exposure, or imagine it and create it from within. There are probably other options, but I'm gonna just go with those two, right?
Yeah.
Like go find it outside of you or create it from within, because those are the two. It's not a whole lot in between that. At least not in my experience. All right.
Beautiful.
Well, listen, this is CM Mastermind Group with your financial conductor, Majida, your helpful trucker, Maurice. She's also an industry developer. Our rogue agent, Miss Bay, and myself, your habit and accountability coach. Nice to know we're still on those terms tonight. And trust we'll see you guys New Year's Eve live as we continue our story, our journey, our way.
Our way.
Peace.
See you.